He's out of camp, so I'll work around me, but I'll just, yeah.
Okay. Video is right on Katie. Hey, hi, Katie.
No.
Mm,
Oh,
okay.
you already finished record? We can't see it.
I did hit record. Didn't it say it's recording in session?
But we thought that last.
Oh, I know. I gotta find. Sorry, looking for negotiation committee meeting minutes. We're gonna do a quick recap of the last couple meetings since the recording didn't work. The last meeting, Katie and they presented the STARS MOU as signed by the union president. Sherry asked about informational paragraphs, clarification. We did table the MOU. We talked about what comparable schools look like for the STARS Act, for what the salaries look like and stuff. Michelle stated there could be more organization, form a budget committee to help with the budget. She felt that things were more complicated than they needed to be. This was kind of just a bunch of chit chat, right? Ways to cut. And then we were going to meet the next day at 3:45 to finalize a STAR Act thing. We talked about the flex departure and arrival and departure. Let's see. Michelle said the MEO spoke about accountability. Cammie said the team recommended 15 minutes before, 15 minutes after. You guys talked about how the discipline needs to be done by the admin. And then we talked about section 8.2 to 9.5 in the contract. Raising the max 6 leave days that you guys agreed to increase it to 70. And that you wanted discretionary to stay at 16. We looked at policy 3235 about the video surveillance stuff. And then we took that out at the board meeting. The one sentence.
Because it pertained to students.
We talked about how many contract hours were less this year versus next year. And that we could not talk about anything, couldn't agree on anything financial till after the STARS Act was signed. So we knew what we're looking at about the longevity stipend. So the next meeting was the next day, or wasn't the next day?
Yeah, for the STARS Act.
Right. After discussion, the MEO accepted the 66% this year with an addition of a 3% added to the base on the 26-27 years salary schedule. And the board committee agreed to that. Okay. Now we're at 5:19.
So
25. MEO. Okay, go.
I'm gonna save all the wording stuff for the last part. So going to the flex arrival departure time, since it's not going to be flex, we did agree to the 15 minutes and we chose new wording, which we'll go over later, to be approved by you. Going down here, when you talked about the retirement incentive, the response was, yes, we agree, and we'll talk about the longevity at a later date. If does that work? So that's
yes, they
to-
agree with what?
So when you said you would like to remove the retirement incentive stipend, 12,000.
Yes.
To reinvest, the conversation went, we would agree to a longevity. And then could the retirement incentive be negotiated? You guys stated, yes, you can negotiate, but cannot for sure say that you will get something. Masters 3% and 2% if they don't, is what I have written down here.
That's what Kyla does.
Is what Kyla does.
Yeah. For the longevity stipend. That's what Kyla does for longevity stipend.
And then no agreement to any money yet, not opposed, but would like to discuss. So then the response was, yes, we agree, and we'll talk about the longevity at a later date.
So they agreed to remove the
To remove
12,000.
the $12,000 stipend for this year. We will kind of table it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so yes, we agree to remove the retirement incentive and we will talk about the longevity at a later date. Not for this contract. Okay.
Moving on to going from 16 to 12. We did the maths and we would like to keep the 16 days. Is what was agreed by all teachers. So we donate our time for events and activities was the biggest one. So we would like to keep the 16 days.
I'm not sure if we even had to kind of jog our own memories, but when we looked back at the. I actually went back and listened to it again. We were talking about the 70 days thing. So
Yes.
in our minds, those were kind of like tied together. We would increase this to 70 if you'd back off on the days to 12. So
Okay,
like
'cause
not
I
as
thought
like
them were
separate.
accounts two separate.
Yeah, I think that was our intention, is for those to be connected, because you're actually banking more days and more money for when you're able to cash out your sick days. And because you're, cutting down the number of days. Yes, you're right. If we did the same percentage, it would be more like 14. Right?
Talk about hours, though, it's not, it's closer to like 15, so we kind of felt like the difference wasn't enough to really go back.
I thought it was like 14.2.
If you do the days, the way we had it, but we had broken it down into like actual minutes and
Right.
hours. Then when you get down to the nitty gritty, it's really close to like 15 days, so.
Okay.
So we would be willing to go down to 15 days if that's.
Hmm.
We have to. But we would like to keep it 16.
So could we back down instead of going to 70, could we go to something else? Yeah.
Is,
So is
That's
it
kind of the same
55?
pot of money-ish. Yeah.
Right,
well, I guess, so coming from the perspective of the teachers, we felt like, okay, I guess we don't understand why it has to be a give and take. Like why it has to be 70 and then 14 versus just why are we not building up? Like, why are we taking a step forward, but also taking a step back? Like, does that make sense? Like, that's kind of how a lot of
Mhm.
us see it, as to why are we going to 70, but then we have to give up days?
I think,
Like, why are we?
yeah,
I guess, and I personally don't really understand that either, like.
Yeah.
We either wanna build teachers, we're either going in a direction, like, why are we like? I don't understand.
so I guess.
Personally,
Okay,
but-
so I this just speaking for myself, tell me if I'm off
Yeah.
base here, but I'm just thinking. Like if our overall goal is one of our overall goals, right? Is to really be mindful of how we're spending money and budget and save money. Especially with this 4-day school week, right? We're trying to cut down the number of absences and sub days, right?
Correct, yeah.
So if we don't necessarily adjust the number of days per year accordingly, then it kind of like, if everybody takes their 16 days, that's a lot of stuff. Right? So I don't know. It was
Yeah,
just
but
kind
I
of like,
don't know anybody here that does that.
right, but I think it was more, I think the idea was more to encourage you to like not use them all and bank more.
Well, that's my
Right.
goal.
Right, right. I don't know. I guess it seems like it's a lot of days compared to what most schools have.
Yeah,
and we were
So,
thinking that would be the trade-off.
maybe
If we
a good
could
trade-off,
If we
yeah.
could lower that, because we now have a 4-day week instead of 5.
Right.
Our
So for
offering
you
to
guys-
you would be, you
Yeah.
could bank 70 instead of 55.
But if
I
that's,
think the problem is because we do mostly in hours, like, we're talking about days and really. It was brought up, even we really should convert them to hours, because if you're thinking about, like. Oh, yeah,
It is hours in the system.
I know.
Yeah.
so.
So when you say days, like,
when you say
To
days,
hours.
it's X number of hours, right?
right, whatever their workday is.
Yeah.
That's what it's converted to in Black Mountain.
Yeah, with the language you just gave us, I know we're not doing wording yet, but the workday thing was a little bit different than it had been before, and so we were kind of. Unsure why that change was made, so maybe we're calculating different hours.
So.
So the one that was like,
Sorry,
because we changed it to,
like 8 hours and 30 minutes or something, instead of 8 hours and 5 minutes. But you didn't use
because
it,
we did the math.
But that's what we're saying is because the
but
way
we,
we
we're
calculate
cutting.
time off though, is
Uh-huh.
that it's always in hours.
Right.
And we are working the same, I mean, I get that we're not physically here because we're doing the 15 minute to 15 minutes.
Mhm.
But we are teaching the same amount of hours and minutes in the school year. And so if we have to take off, right, the hours,
Mhm.
we're still in need of that. Now, we're not saying we're going to, but the percentage of it is really not that big of a difference to say, oh, well, let's go down. I mean, like, that's why we said, if you wanna do the 15 days. That. But to go down to 12, that's like a really big.
So Shannon, where was the 8.5? Or oh, so 7.1 was thing. Yeah, so we're just thinking, we don't see why it's changed because we took off the 15, like, it was 30 before, 30
I
after.
mean, like.
Now it's 15 before, 15 after.
Yeah,
And
because
the,
you said that we couldn't do the flex, so if it's not flex.
no, I'm
then
sorry,
it has
yes,
to be-
correct, but the 8 hours and 30-minute day, in the previous contract, it said
So right.
8 hours and 5 minutes with a including
Right,
duty-free
that's what I
lunch
have
period.
But I don't understand. the
So it
concept.
shouldn't it
Like,
still be
I-
8 hours and 5 minutes? That's why
Because
we're,
now we're working 8 hours and 30 minutes.
Oh,
We're
because we have a
going
longer
from-
workday.
We are going from. 7:45 to. Oh, I get what you're saying.
right?
So your
That's
workday is shorter by 5 minutes.
Well, not really,
Not
because
sure.
they did change the calendar to 8 o'clock instead of 8:05.
Yeah.
So it's the same.
That's exactly.
So we think it's the same length of day, we're just decreasing the amount of time you have to be here. According to your contract, right, from.
So then it should be 8 hours and what?
If it's the same, it would be 8
In 5
hours and 5
minutes.
minutes. I guess so when we're
But is it the
calculating,
same? Yeah.
but when we're calculating sick time, do we include the 15-minute before and after, or is it just, like, do we include
Mhm.
contract time? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was
So-
already in the contract, I
Right.
just changed it. to
Yeah.
15.
I think
Right.
that the time in the prior contract was including.
It wasn't including the lunch because I asked Deb one day about it and she's like, oh, because we don't include the lunch.
Yeah.
That's why it says 8 minutes, 8 hours and 5 minutes. So that's why I was wondering if you
I was
guys just
thinking it should be
included.
longer too, that makes sense, but I guess not.
Because we're taking out a half hour, so it would have been. Eight
Would've been a
hours
half
and
hour longer.
35
Right,
minutes, but we're taking out a half hour because we looked at.
right. So I guess when we calculate sick time then, what is considered a day?
Well, I was using 8 hours and 5 minutes
Okay.
because that's what's
So
in their
that's still-
contract.
We're still kind of at the same. Then. But with fewer overall days, right?
We were allowed to come down to 15. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. We just want to make sure you knew that that was our
Yeah.
intention, is to like
Okay,
combine those, but
Because that our goal, like
okay.
budgetary wise, our hope is to save
Not
money
have to
by,
budget as much. so-
yeah, not have to budget as
Yeah.
much for the subs. So that's like our,
I
and in
do
order
have
to do
say-
that, we were hoping
Yeah,
we
Just
were
wanna
gonna
use to
give
give
the
them the-
extra
at the end
to
of the
accommodate for that,
contract,
basically.
right? At the end
So
of the
not that
contract.
it's like we're taking something away from you, we're trying to give you something extra to account for what we want to kick down a little bit because of the days.
Does that make sense? And I
Yeah.
mean,
It makes more sense, that was a personal.
right,
thing.
I see why
don't-
you're just like,
Yeah.
hey, you just offered that and then no, yeah.
I
Um,
did not have it written down as an and or, so it
Mhm.
was negotiated separately.
So we talked about
I
that
went back
after
and
the
I
meeting,
actually
yeah,
went back
when
and
you came
re-listened
back
to
and you're
the-
like, we agree on this, but not this, and
The
afterwards,
recording,
we're like,
yeah.
wait, that was the
Okay.
same.
Maybe it wasn't super clear, but
Yeah.
I think the way, when I went back and listened to the recording, it was, we kind of presented it as one, like in one thing,
Okay.
like, but you know what I mean? We probably weren't as explicitly clear as we should have been, like, this for that.
That's
kind of
okay,
thing.
I just, and
Um,
it could be fault on my part too, so what do we wanna do? Do you wanna go down to 15, or do we need to take it back and explain that it was an and or situation? Cause we are only able to negotiate down to 15, so.
And how was that based on the hours of the 8 hours and 30 minutes a day though?
It
As
was
being a work day?
based
Or-
off of, so yeah, you gave me the, I did my own math. So,
Right, I'm just trying to figure out how we calculated
yeah,
it.
so when
'Cause
you
we got
said we were doing
14.2.
8 hours. I mean, we do it.
Yeah.
So what
Just
was
redo.
it before?
And the contract was 8 hours and 5 minutes.
And so it's still 8 hours, and 5 minutes.
Mhm.
So then if you add those up, multiply that by what, how many days do we work? 171?
Currently, yes,
171 days.
plus 7
So that's
PIR, but
485 minutes a day,
I don't know if you count the
Yeah.
PIR or not, but
four
Well, the
hundred.
PIR is it not 171 days, right? Or is that
it's 178.
171 pupil days
So
and then
our-
7.
Yeah.
But that's not including the,
So yeah, I
Yeah.
converted it all into minutes, so what's the
okay,
minutes?
so 485.
Okay, so 485 a day.
Mhm.
Times 5, that's 178.
Oh, you are including the PIR then? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, times. Plus 7, 178.
So that's like 86.
86,330 minutes.
yikes.
Whew. And then you divide it
And
by
then I did
hours,
that by, well, I had to convert the hour.
right? 1,430.
Yeah.
8.83, whatever.
And I got around 9%. Right?
For 16 days of that?
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
7,280.
Oh, I see, you did that and then divided it by days.
Or by, yeah.
14.
They lost me a few equations ago.
Wait a minute, 1438.
Well, let's just cross.
So you,
Oh,
and I
geez.
even rounded,
Divided by,
I'm not the map.
now I got myself lost here.
I did 7,680. Those are the minutes in the 16 days. Divided by the 86,000, it's
I'm with you now.
8.9%.
Okay.
Right?
So about 9%.
Yeah, so
Okay.
9%.
Got it.
Okay, then with 158 times, basically we have the same amount of minutes, right? So
Right.
485
So times the
minus
485.
158 is, so we're 10,000 minutes less. Now, my hours may have been wrong with this, so I'm gonna make it.
That's okay.
Okay, and then I multiplied that by 90. So that you get 6,896 minutes about,
Mhm.
and then if you divide that. Times 8, so that, yeah, so it gets, it equals out to with that time, it equals out to 14.36 days. So, but I had the old time, so we can go back in time.
So wait, so the 14 would equal, the
9%.
14 for a 4-day would equal 16 for a 5-day.
Yes.
Okay, so
Roughly,
we're saying if,
Roughly, it's a
so
little
then
more.
like from that standpoint, 14 for 4-day is what you should get. We're saying if you go down to 12, we will extend your lead bank to 70. Make
So if
sense?
we don't accept, then there's no rise in the 70, correct?
Well,
Well, I mean,
Because
what was it
I'm
before?
just
It was
saying that
45?
if,
it was
It's
55,
50.
Or 55?
yeah,
55.
We could maybe go up to.
So 12 days.
I mean, I think
with
it's directly
70.
proportional to how many days they want to do. Like, if
Right.
you want to keep it at 14, which is what you have comparatively to this year, then it should stay at 55. If you want to go up to 15 or up to 16, which that's not gonna happen. If you want to go higher,
Well,
then you have,
What happens if we don't agree?
Then we stay at
Leave
the
contract.
45 and.
then we stay at the
Then we stay
55.
at
So
16.
what we're
55.
saying, yeah, is that technically,
Which do you want more, I guess? Is that the
fairsies,
number?
it should be 14.3
Right.
to equal what you have right now,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
So technically, that's what it should be, and we're saying if you want to go, if you want to extend your leave bank and take it down to 12, that would be an even swap in on lines.
and I know what happened, it was because we hadn't negotiated the 15-minute thing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that was
Oh,
why.
right, so the numbers.
You had
Yeah.
a half hour extra in there,
So
yeah.
then you would have
Mhm.
half hour.
Yeah.
So that's. but
Which
yeah.
we know you're working in it. Don't get us.
Right.
No,
You're
yeah.
working it. Fine.
okay, so I will take.
At least that's, and again, I don't want to speak on
I
behalf of
apologize
Sherry.
that we weren't
but-
like super
clear maybe on our intention there, but that was.
Yeah, I just had it written down as
Yeah.
two separate things.
Yeah, and we
Like
thought that
it,
might have
yeah.
happened, because we're like, oh, with the response, I
Well,
wonder if
wait a
they think
minute,
it's like,
yeah.
So maybe
Not
next
connected.
time to avoid that, we get like a paper copy of your negotiated items.
Mm.
I thought we, didn't we do that?
I did not get an
Okay.
email of your negotiated items.
Oh.
We had a drive between.
Oh,
us
that's what
that
it
we were
was.
working
Didn't
on.
know.
So just like for future that.
For
we-
sure, for sure, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because I didn't,
Realize,
But we'll go back to that.
Okay.
because if that's the case, that's just us giving you and not like,
yep,
that's negotiations, right?
yep.
Paper version.
Okay. So an
That's
even
amazing.
swap would be 14 days discretionary for an increase of 70 days to the leave bank. To keep 16 would keep the leave bank at 55.
They're saying we should go down to 14. So.
Oh,
if it
14 would be the same.
would be 55.
14 would be
14
samesies, you know,
55.
14.3
Three.
or whatever.
Where-
that would be samesies, like contract comparison wise now.
Same as
So
55
then
days.
So
it's
that's why we're saying we
Would
can
be
go down to
70.
12, yeah.
Alright, so. That is all I have for negotiated items other than wording. So. Are we ready to move on to that?
Did we have anything else? guys? I can't think of anything.
Okay.
No, I think it was just that stuff.
Yep.
So we would like to create a section called 2.9 and name it chain of command. And it would state the school board and principal will, we gotta add will. in
Yeah.
there.
We got that too.
Formally request specific information from the union using designated channels, ensuring compliance with established procedures.
We don't know what that means. We still don't get it.
So it basically.
So we need more
means that-
context.
Yeah,
on
a
it.
little context.
So it basically means that if you guys want to do anything with the union, you have to go through the chain of command.
Like, what do you
You
mean
cannot
anything?
just pull me aside and say, hey, Michelle, let's talk about blah, 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 blah.
For
You act
anything?
for anything, you need to go through the chain of command because we can get in trouble. If
So I can't come
we
and say,
don't-
so how's kindergarten going?
No, I'm talking about
So that's why we need
actual,
context. We don't get what you mean.
like
What?
actual MEO situation
What we could
stuff.
put is,
So MEO business or like MEO contract?
So what are we
It's in
talking,
your
like contracts,
company.
like salaries, like what are we talking?
Yeah, we just need it, it's context, so we understand more. So obviously you're trying to like eliminate some issue or problem
Right.
or fix something, right? So we just need to understand what that is.
There were, so. When it comes, especially when it comes to negotiations, a lot of us kind of. It was presented that we're not allowed to have side conversations, like
Mhm.
everything has to be. Documented, everything needs to go through the president before it comes to us.
Right.
And so. The whole time I've been on negotiations. I've just like chatted with Shannon about questions, I've done this.
Gotcha, okay.
But the board has also done so, and so all of us are not following the chain of command. And that can get all of us in trouble.
So is this specific maybe
So with-
negotiation?
can we say like
With-
MEO contract information, maybe?
Well, but
Because
it-
that would
Real quick, it
include
says ensuring compliance with established procedures. What established procedures are we talking about?
our-
So we
We're-
have to follow your MEO procedures?
Well, oh no, well, it's basically saying though that like, if you pull us in, and be like, hey, we need to talk to you about this, what's coming on the salary schedule, we would have to say to you, we can't talk about it, you have to notify our.
So then what does that mean for you guys, like going through Shannon to get information too?
That's up to you guys. We don't have that works. Your kids, just.
Do you have like a form or something that you
So-
would go with
You
the
would just
section?
email
and-
President, and then you speak to your salary committee or on your negotiating team about the matrix. That's
Do you have like an established procedure that we can? Cause like
In
this
your
is
contract?
saying the
Is it-
school board will formally request information. Ensuring compliance with these procedures, but if If we're
I think
playing a
it's-
game that we don't know we're
Yeah.
playing, we need the rules.
I'm willing to play.
Like,
That's what we're
like,
doing.
tell me what the rules are. What are we talking about? Right? Like, you know what I mean?
Your messengers, I get that, like, but we're just trying to like
Okay.
understand.
Like, we're gonna play tag. Are we playing freeze tag? Are we playing zombie tag? Like, what are we doing? Like, I need to know what the rules are of what I'm supposed to
It should
follow.
be that negotiation stuff, that's what they want, is no negotiation item should be discussed with outside of a negotiations.
So you guys also want this to say that we can't discuss it outside of
No,
negotiation?
No,
us.
you just
The
can't.
problem is we're walking down the hall and somebody will get pulled into the office, and I'm not saying specifically who, and they're like, we gotta talk to you about this. And that happened to me with
Oh.
years ago about the insurance thing, like, we just need an MEO
Gotcha.
person, and I was in the office, I'm like, oh, I'll jump in, like,
Mm.
and so it's on us too, cause really
Gotcha,
what I
okay.
should have done was be like, whoever the president was at the time, they need someone in there for insurance. Can you send the insurance person?
And I'm at fault too, because
Gotcha.
I will go to Shannon and be like, da 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 da.
Right.
And really, that is not how
Mhm.
it should be.
Yeah.
It needs to go.
And I've done
through
that,
the
I think
chain.
I've done that in the past too, so I
Yeah,
get
but
it.
also-
I think I'm the one that pulled you in for that meeting.
But I also think like
Okay.
a lot of it kind of stems from the STARS Act too, because there was a lot of discussion about things that things were being said, things are being passed around, information is swirling and everybody's confused, and it kind of was just like a lot of confusing information, and we need to.
Did we have discussions with people outside of this? Cause I don't recall having a.
All
simple-
I can say is that
discussion.
everybody in the school was confused about everything being talked about the STARS Act. So, which, yes.
In relation
like,
to negotiations or prior to that, or?
prior to, so
Okay.
things like,
Gotcha.
because then I had paras talking about, oh, well, what about our raises and this, that, and the, like, there's just
I
things
see, kind of
going
ripple
on.
effect of side
To
conversations.
where it almost was like, when we were digging into it, we're like, well, paras really are not part of the STARS Act. Like, just going back
Right.
to like what we were talking about, so now we
Right.
have paras talking about raises and we have, like
I
things are
getcha.
not aligning.
So maybe if it just said something like the school.
And it's not anybody specifically, like
Mhm.
any information, like people could have just been talking about it and then, you know what I mean? Like it
Mhm.
just, information just swirls like crazy and that's how it
Mhm.
is in any environment. I guess what we're trying to say is that we just need to make sure that specific things are tight knit and that
Mhm.
they're going through the proper channels.
So can we have that go both ways though? I like it.
Right.
I
Yeah.
get it, but can we have the wording
I-
kind of go back and forth?
I
Or
can
like,
have-
Yeah, I'm
what's the
fine.
response
I'm
time?
totally
Like,
fine with
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
being
yeah.
like, this is the way we do it.
Yeah,
On both parts.
Yeah.
But also if you can make sure there's something in there, like if we're supposed to request information from the president. How does that get requested? Is it in person? Is it in writing? Is it via
Email.
email? And then what
Okay.
can we expect as far as a response time?
Okay.
Because we don't want to have something that's urgent that we need a response on and then we never get any
can we expect
information back.
24
Okay,
hours?
so
you know,
how does
or
this
whatever.
get requested response time, and then can we make it go both ways?
Yeah. Cause I agree, that's probably very good to have.
Yes.
And that's
something like
something I feel like, especially with the paras, they don't have a union. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
Right.
they're trying to get their information where they can.
For sure.
So
They're kinda just
they're
Asking
also,
whoever will tell them
yeah.
anything.
I mean, there also has to be,
And I'm just using that as an example.
No, that's a great.
right, no,
Because
but I'm
that was
thinking of
just
that,
like
yeah.
Everybody was just talking about different things and
Yeah.
everybody was getting really peeved about it and
Yeah.
everyone's just
No, I
like, well,
get
I
it.
don't know, and I don't
So it's
know.
sort of this pot stirring kind of. thing
Yeah.
that-
Yeah.
No,
so
maybe
I'm
nobody's
just-
intending to do, but it's making it a
Yes.
bigger.
And I think
thing.
that's just like what we want to avoid from
Yeah,
like now on,
absolutely.
especially because we are gonna be dealing with the STARS Act for a
Yes.
while. Like that might just
Forever.
need to be something in all of our
We hope,
minds,
we
of
hope.
just like,
I think
agree,
it's a
I get
good
it.
general
And I think,
rule for life
I think
anyway.
that-
I like
yeah.
what Katie said about just a little more specificity around. Instead of specific information, like say MEO or like contract related or
Salary related or
something. Or
whatever you
negotiation.
want,
That-
like-
You could say MEO contract, comma. Negotiations, comma, whatever you want to do, like put in a few things so we know that we're not talking about just like,
General thing.
yeah,
like-
general, like, oh, that's a really
I
cool bulletin board,
understand
tell
that,
me
yeah.
about that.
and some kind of definition or like a
What's the
established
procedure?
procedure, like
Yeah.
what is that procedure? If we could get some definition and clarification on that.
Like, does it have to be in writing? It says
Okay.
formally request, so I would think in writing, but yeah, so
Okay.
that'd be great. No, we're
I
not
will
opposed.
change
We
it.
just want it to be really, we want to understand the problem. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we can be part of the solution.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
What?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm borderline hangry right now. I haven't eaten today.
Do you want granola bar or almonds? They've been swimming in my purse. for
It's in my car. I can go get it.
I'm
Left
okay.
over from
I'm really
fishing.
good. I am. So I did all of that and I'll
Okay.
take that to them.
Okay,
So section 8.2A.
That's
We
the one
actually
just kinda
can't do.
talked about
Yep,
it.
I'm gonna table that one.
no,
So we have to table that.
okay,
8.2B, discretionary leave will not be granted the day before nor the day after holidays or vacation days, nor during the first 2 weeks of the school year or the last 2 weeks of the school year. The principal may grant exceptions at his or her discretion. The only word change that we did was discretionary.
totally fine.
Can you take the apostrophe out of holidays?
Yes.
Sorry. I'm grabbing Nancy.
No, I need you to be, I need you to be, okay.
And not
Um,
capitalized either, it's just holidays, like, not the specific name of the holiday. Just plural, just a plural word.
So.
Was that a change?
Just
Ability
the
to-
Just left-
discretionary.
Yeah,
Just
oh,
discretion-
gotcha.
yeah.
Instead of. gotcha.
Yeah.
You sure you don't want them? Cause I'm gonna eat them.
Yes, you
Okay.
need them. Um, 8.2C, we would like to change it to read discretionary leave. I did not type it out, so it's just, we would change it to discretionary.
Yeah.
We were reading it and we think it should read 25% of teachers' daily rate of pay at the time of departure. It does not have the word daily in there.
What does it say currently? Sorry, I don't have
It
it.
says rate of pay, yeah. And we think it
Oh.
should read.
Okay.
Is
It's
that,
calculated,
is that how it pays
it's
out?
half of the days and then half of the amount, correct? Like you get half of them paid at half the amount. So I don't know that it's really technically 25%, but it ends up being 25%, right?
Yeah, I don't know, Black Mountain just does it for me.
I believe how the formula works is half of your days, and then you get half of that pay. So.
Yeah,
So it's not
so
even
it's more
something
like-
that you
it's not
calculate?
even something that I calculate. I put in how many days you, when you, let's say you retire tomorrow, I put in how many days you, actually, I don't even do that. It does it for me. It tells me how many days you already have in your sick leave bank and it calculates it all based on,
So is there a way that?
'Cause that
maybe we
is
can
a-
add that wording to this, because
As calculated by.
By Black Mountain or
Or
software.
like
whatever.
that.
and that's all,
At 25%.
yeah. You just wanted to add daily, but I don't know it's,
But you don't know if it's the daily rate, because that's what they had they had remembered it being, and then it was.
and it might be, like I said, because you put in how many days, it calculates how many days and it takes 25% of that. And does the
Yeah,
math.
it's
And I
half of
think
that.
it's based on, it's not something based on like Black Mountain Soft. I mean, it's a state
That's a
thing.
state law.
It's a state law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
all right.
I can't quote which one, but.
It's an
will take-
MCA of some
We
kind.
can, we can add that. I don't have an objection to adding that word in, but that may not be how it's actually calculated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how,
So if that's not
It
how it's
happens.
actually calculated, then we probably need to fix the whole thing.
Well, it's still 25%
Of the,
of the teacher's rate, whatever. But I would think
But
it's
it's not
daily. I would assume it's their daily, but I can't say for sure because I don't do the
I
calculation.
guess what we're saying, we don't have a problem with that word, but that may not be accurate,
Okay.
right?
Um,
We don't.
why
pick
don't
and
I
choose.
I
just
can-
take it back to that?
Say Black Mountain just does it. not-
I can try to find what MCA it is.
Oh, maybe
Yeah,
they can do that.
I don't know.
Okay.
It's one of the things I don't have to think about. I just click and
Yeah.
done.
it's automatic,
Just it's
I
a
don't blame you.
formula that the state gives you, and so we can.
Yeah,
it's automatic. I love it.
okay.
So it's a formula that the state did.
Gives to our software company. Oh my gosh, I did not bring my cheaters. Oh,
I got nothing.
Right.
There's no lights on over here.
At least I'm typing better with nails. That's been an
Education
adjustment.
is 20, okay.
Oh, yeah, it's a 20 for sure. MCA 20 dash.
Teachers. Gonna be under chapter 4. Employment.
I was really hoping it did.
Do you want to read the next one while she's looking it up?
Please don't read them.
8.2D.
Fun. Gotta make notes that these are good to go. Oops, this is good to go for that one. Okay. Tabled 8.2, clarification for 2.9. 8.2B is good to go. 8.2C, we're talking about. Okay. 8.2D. Would read a teacher who is unable to teach because of a doctor certified illness or disability and who has exhausted all paid leave.
That's what
Available
changes.
shall be granted a leave of absence without pay for the duration of illness or disability up to a maximum of 1 school year. All teachers shall be included in this leave.
And that's the new language? What did it say
That is the
before?
new language.
You just change it to all paid leave instead of exhausted
And then
their.
we also took out the leave shall be administered in accordance with section 8.6A through 8.6D. Because we deleted it last year,
Oh,
annexed it. Because
Yeah.
we went from personal, which was all to do with personal leave. So
Mhm.
when we switched it to discretionary, we just
okay.
delete, which is why we put all paid leave.
Right.
It includes everything. Is that good to go?
Yep. I don't see a
Otherwise-
problem with that. Yeah.
It's 2-18-68.
Good to go. Sorry, I have to table it. Yep, 8.3 is tabled. Now, except for 8.3C. That new wording. Unused days will be accumulated,
In the sick leave bank. Oh, did you?
the. Think we think that could happen 10 and for the teachers.
I think probably just unused days instead of unused sick days.
That's what I. Okay, just took out. Oh, that,
Mhm.
okay, yes, I did fix that. I'm sorry, I was stuck on like, what did I miss? Okay. Okay, so that one's good to go?
They just took out sick.
Oh,
For
so that's-
8.3.
Yeah.
Tabling 8.3D.
Oh, this gets complicated.
Which one?
The sick leave. So
Oh.
it starts out by talking about, for calculating sick leave credits, 2,080 hours, 52 weeks times 40 hours equals 1 year. Sick leave credits must be credited at the end of each pay period. Sick leave credits are earned at the rate of 12 working days for each year of service without restriction. That's the number of working days that may be accumulated. So it says 12 in the MCA actually. So employees are not entitled to be paid sick leave unless they've been continuously employed for 90 days, blah, blah, blah. And then when it talks about an employee who receives a lump sum payment, converts unused sick leave to employer contributions to health. Oh, here we go. Okay, here we go. Except as otherwise provided, sorry, it took me. An employee who terminates employment with the agency is entitled to a lump sum payment equal to 1/4 of the pay attributed to the accumulated sick leave. The
Okay,
pay
so-
attributed to the accumulated sick leave must be computed on the basis of the employee's salary or wage at the time of the employee terminates employment with the state, county, or city. Accrual of sick leave credits for calculating the lump sum payment provided for in this subsection begins, blah, 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 1971. The payment is the responsibility of the agency in which the sick leave accrues. However, an employee does not forfeit any sick leave rights or benefits accrued prior to this. That's the 1971 thing. Transfers, that's not helpful. And then it goes on to talk about health. It does not
really
it doesn't say
specify
anything.
daily
A
rate. It just
calculation.
says basically of what's accumulated in your sick leave bank at that
Okay,
point.
so that has nothing.
It's
to
so
really
it's so
do
it's
with
like
the
however
rate.
it's been calculated.
Well, I don't
into the
think we
sick
can
leave
put a
bank.
percentage on
The
something.
so it's 1/4 of your accumulated sick leave. Period. Okay?
Yeah.
That's how it reads. That
I
makes
will
sense?
send that.
And if they want the MCA so they can read it, it's 2-18.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Sorry. Montana
Okay,
Code annotated, so
2-
MCA 2-18-618. And it is right, number 6 of the bullets or whatever.
Oh, but we could put a percentage on it because it's not something you calculate.
Right. So that's why it's already been.
It's the percentage,
calculated into
it's, yeah,
sick
it's
leave.
1/4, which is 25%. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where going up to 70 would help because then you're gonna have a bigger pot to pull from when you end up, retiring or whatever. Okay, gotcha. Ooh.
Um. 5.2. We would like to add. I'm trying to think of where exactly, I did not write this specifically, but we would like to include contract in the wording. So
What
it
is
had to do
5.2?
with,
5.2 is evaluations, right?
yes,
If we weren't sure which part of that section. we wanted to
you're,
include.
yeah.
She's like, you're not alone.
Those are like-
Yeah, I'm
So we're
sorry.
like, sure, let's stick the word contract in there. And seemed like it was a question, like, can we also include contract? Well, also, yeah. In addition to what?
The table, that one.
Can you go back and get more clarification?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask for what specific number. We had so much going on that I was just like.
Right?
So that's good for me to go back to. Okay, so we can jump to 5.9. We would like to create this section. And we would like to name it camera usage. So we did not change anything because I know you guys were confused about the sentence. There was a sentence in there that you didn't understand. Well, I
Yes.
found out that this was your guys' wording.
This is what Rob sent to us,
So this is,
so we were thinking you should take it back and you guys.
because we don't, yeah, because we were just adopting your wording.
Well,
So-
this is actually the wording from your. from
No,
NU.
that's what Rob has. And so we had just brought
Oh.
it back, cause
So this is technically our wording. This is the board wording.
well, so what he had said was. That it's in the policy, but it's not in the contract.
Right,
So that we needed to, I remember the board meeting, I was
Yeah.
there, so that we needed to create an NEO right away and get it into the contract, and this was the wording he had suggested.
okay,
And so then we had waited and waited for, because we were like, well, we'll just wait for negotiations instead of doing
The MOU.
a MOU.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why we were like, well, we don't know specifically because this was brought to us by Mr. Brist.
Oh.
So.
And then we accepted it.
We just said, okay, yeah, we agree that this needs to be put in there, so I don't know.
Okay, so we can come up with some wordage.
Yeah.
Just so we don't go back and forth. Is wordage a word?
I like it. I like it.
Verbiage.
There you go, whatever, I like it.
Verbiage, verbiage.
Just so that's not a back and forth 20 times. What do you guys want it to say or do? What do you want it to mean to you?
I think the vast majority is they don't wanna have the cameras be used against them for, teaching evaluations and all that, but.
Like being late or like you spent too much time on a
Yes.
lunch break?
It's. We have all of the evaluations, they don't want it in there, and,
Cause we took it out of the previous one, didn't we? Like the one that was just accepted.
that was out of
the-
that,
Yeah.
student
Mhm.
policy.
Right.
So as
So
long
I
as,
don't know.
and we also want it to align in a way, like
Right.
we just wanna
With
make
the
sure that
policy.
everything is,
Right,
But at the same
know.
time, see, this is why it's so hard, because you do want something to be able, you wanna be able to view it for the safety of the staff and the
Right, cause that's
students.
the
Right.
purpose.
So that's why, it's like, we understand
Mhm.
that you have to have it in order to vote.
I feel like I see a difference between evaluation and like discipline.
Yeah.
Right? So like if there's, let's say there's a major incident goes down in the hallway, the parent accuses the teacher of beating their child. And the only evidence is the
Camera.
camera.
Yeah,
Well, we're going to look at the footage to fact find and see, was that the case? Is the parent making it up? Is the kid, whatever?
Right.
That's not part of your performance evaluation on your, like your overall teaching ability and your preparation. That'd be like an agreed, if that happened, that would be an egregious incident that needs to be dealt with separately. Right? In terms
Yeah.
of like legalities and things like that. So, but it's
Which I
not.
think it's kind of what this,
So like if it's used for purpose like that, then obviously you get a copy, you'd understand it's like, this is what was found, right?
so I think just. They're more clear that it won't be
Yeah.
used on evaluations, it won't be used for teacher.
Right,
I mean, you can't hear sound anyway, so you don't even really know what's going on, like,
Right.
you know, I mean.
I know what you're
do
saying.
with physical altercation, but yeah.
right,
I
like,
think-
and like in this, like the suggested wording here, I was just kind of reading through it, like it says, you know, not to evaluate employee performance and then not be used for performance evaluation, it's kind of redundant, but you know, you're getting the point
Yeah.
across that's kind of clear. Used for the protection of school district property and safety of the student, staff and visitors. So in a safety setting standpoint, though, there might be things that fall into that purview. But like if you're, you know, I don't know, like the only thing I can think of is something silly like maybe you're, you know, standing up on a chair to take down a bulletin board and that's not following safety protocols, that probably will get ignored, right? But if you're doing something that's like major, it's, you know, it's not gonna be held against you if you're doing something
Right.
just being people or being silly or
Right.
whatever, or, you know. Yeah. So I think we get where you're trying to head. We can try to come up with better. We didn't know, we thought this was your like current
I didn't, he
language.
brought it up during that.
I do remember
Yeah.
that.
I remember that
Yeah.
now that you say that.
Mhm,
Yeah.
So they
mhm.
were like,
Okay.
Yeah.
I
We will
can-
come up with some
on the
wording.
Zoom, is that okay? I'm on Zoom.
Yeah.
I need to send you the Zoom link.
Oh, I thought it was on the. I was waiting. Sorry. I didn't mean that. She already sent it. to me.
She's like,
Okay, you'll email it to me?
Yeah, I don't know where to find it.
I
now.
hate it.
Share. Nope, I don't want to share the screen. Keep talking.
So can we move on to 7.1 then?
yeah,
Okay, so I feel like we already talked about this a little bit.
we
right?
did,
Yeah.
I can't. Say anything until I take it back to let them know that the minutes are different.
Right,
Like it's 8:05.
goes back to
Yeah.
8:05, yeah.
But if they agree and you agree with this wording, then we would be good to go.
Okay, so you
Can I
added
look at
the.
this?
the
Yes,
bold
please do.
Yellow stuff, is that brand
Yes,
new?
so that's the stuff that we negotiated, that would go down at the bottom.
Administrator shall notify the union president of the concern in writing. If there's a time related issue. The union will notify the member / individual with a written warning. Further action will be taken by the admin. That's what we talked about last time, I think.
Yeah,
That's just where we would want.
Oh, for the love
Mhm.
of God.
is in that section.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Cause it has to. yeah.
Pertains to the workday.
but we just have to make sure the timing,
Right.
the hours and minutes is correct. Uh-oh, what happened?
No, it's fine. It's just taken, it's got to send me a code and yeah. 350-418. I don't know where I'm at anymore. 350-418.
Seven point three. All right, each full day teacher shall be scheduled for a continuous 55-minute duty-free preparation period. This preparation period will not be infringed upon with meetings or trainings. If a teacher is less than full day but half day or greater, she shall be scheduled for prorated preparation time. So I believe the only thing that was changed was we went from 45-minute to a 55-minute.
Copy invite link.
Due to the length of the day.
Hmm.
That seems
Because
reasonable.
So,
Well, it has to match your your specials time, so if they're going to a 55-minute block.
right,
That just makes sense to me.
Yeah.
You're prepping for 5 days worth of stuff in 4 days, so.
Mhm.
And will that work for the only thing that makes me a little nervous is the continuous, just because I'm picturing like maybe special teachers, I guess they're gonna have 55-minute periods, so.
Wait, what do you?
Sometimes it's hard to fit in that long of a prep for all teachers based on how the schedule flows. Like specialist teachers, like oftentimes they're back-to-back periods
Oh, I
of teachers
got
and they,
you.
it's, they might have to do like half an hour here and 25 minutes there. Right? I just know from admin,
I do know that, since I've been here, I've never seen that,
okay,
but I don't.
okay, so currently it's not an issue to get to 45 for everybody in a row.
Well, I think it's hard for the specials teachers
yeah.
because there's no, according to the middle school schedule, there's really no allotted time to allow for a teacher to have breaks in between each class. I don't know if there's a way in the schedule to make that happen. I don't know. That's kind of out of,
Okay,
that's not my job. But as far as I know, the continuous has never been an issue, so.
okay.
except for the specials teachers.
Or you're just
Well,
saying there's
no,
not
I think
breaks
them
between
too.
classes.
Between.
Oh, I wasn't
classes.
worried about that. I
Mm.
was worried, can we find 55 minutes in a row to give them as a prep? Is my question.
Them, a prep,
Like
oh,
the specialist teachers.
She did it this morning and showed me the schedule and was able to figure it out
Okay, great.
in the trunk. Sorry.
Miss Julia,
Oh,
I think she said Steve.
she said she.
oh. I'm like, who
I
did
thought
that?
she said Steve too,
No.
and I was.
Mr.
like,
Cheeseman,
All right, we're
Stepping it
good.
up.
Steve's got it under control.
all right.
If that
Sorry,
was- that didn't work, that makes
Julia was working it out in her office this morning and showed me and was able to like work in 55 minutes for everybody, including the specials and everything.
Okay.
I don't know.
So just a quick question, bringing that up, that you were in Julia's office talking to her about that. Is that the type of
Yep.
thing you don't want to happen?
I don't know. She asked, well, see, and that's the thing, like, to me, the clarification of my schedule doesn't really fit. Does it fit into a negotiation? I don't know. That's why you're right. We should be more clear.
Right,
Yeah.
that's why I'm like, okay.
I
that's-
don't know.
but
Because
your
I asked,
contract's a MEO thing, right? So like we need guidelines to follow so that everybody's on.
Yeah.
And I noticed this is a full day teacher, not a full-time teacher. So I'm assuming if somebody's a half-time teacher, they still get 55 minutes of prep on whatever full day they are here.
So we
right?
didn't change any of that language, so
Okay.
that's
Mhm.
been.
Because I
in-
do know that has been an issue in the past for part-time teachers, that they were not given full preps because they were part. I do know that has been an issue,
Okay.
right? Does that make sense? So,
Yeah,
but since it says full day, if they're teaching part-time, but they're here for, like, if they're here for half a day, they should get half of that prep time during that day. But if they're here for a full day, they should get the full 55 minutes.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
For every day they work. Got it. Okay. Just clarification. Thank you.
you want me to change anything?
Nope.
I'm good with that.
A 7.3 lunch period, so we added a word. So each teacher shall receive a daily, duty-free uninterrupted lunch period equal to the student lunch/recess period.
I like it. Because that was
Before it
never
just
clear
said
to me
lunch.
what that meant.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think duty free should be hyphenated. Sorry, I just think it should be.
You need it
Or
what?
probably hyphenated, like a hyphen.
Duty dash free.
Oh,
And I think that would be the same. I think it's in here somewhere else too.
Up and
So I like that because that's never made sense to me. How exactly?
because apparently
that
there
makes
was an
sense.
issue this year, I guess,
Okay.
with that, with specials.
And are we just
teachers.
assuming that like that accounts for teachers dropping off their kids? Or is that?
Well, it had to do something along the lines of. I think Tess and Aaron ended up missing out on some time because they weren't allotted
As much time as a
a
kid
ton.
gets.
Yeah,
Right.
but Tess wasn't worried about it because she got the 30 minutes at the end of the day, like she was done at 3. So then she got that chunk of time,
Gotcha.
if that made sense. So it was separate. But I guess it was an issue with
It wasn't
being-
an uninterrupted, like,
Yeah.
continuous.
Mhm. Is how I took it.
Okay.
9.5, professional money. So this is how it would read. To what we all agreed to. Each teacher will be granted 2 days of paid professional leave per year. And there will be a pool of 4,000 for discretionary professional money. Additional days may be granted by the principal. Request of these funds will be submitted by June 15th of the current school year. A waiver will need to be signed with the clerk.
So
Waiver of what?
Yeah, waiting for-
I think that the request for these funds by June 15th was back in the day when you guys didn't have credit cards
So.
and we're getting reimbursed for those.
So that maybe doesn't need to be in there.
So I don't know if that needs to be, because by June 15th is almost too late. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, that's for the following year. So that would be like basically.
so
you
by
have to
this
plan
June
a year in
15th,
A year in
you're
advance
planning for next year.
is how I read it.
Oh,
Like you would have to plan for it a year in advance.
oh gosh, okay, then that definitely needs to be changed in the wording, because this makes it sound like
Cause that's how I read
this
it.
says the
I don't
current
know
school
how-
year.
So maybe we wanna,
So in the past, it's always been you could use it up to the end of the school year you're in,
Mm-hmm.
not having to plan it.
cause
ahead.
requests of these funds will be submitted by June 15th of the current school year.
Cause
Yeah,
professional
current.
money isn't that for like.
Right,
extra
'cause
classes or whatever.
Willie
you
used to
do.
come to me with here's all my professional leave in
Right.
June to reimburse her.
For the year.
Because before I came, you guys didn't have individual credit cards. People just paid for it and were reimbursed, I believe.
So, and I think,
Okay, so what would you like to change?
So
The
can we-
request?
So
And-
right now, the request is supposed to be, it's on the staff dashboard. Professional leave request form is there to submit to Julia before you schedule it
so I think if you strike, just cross out
from requests alone.
requests of these funds, like to the end. And then just say.
Well, you want to,
Professional, or wait,
you want to leave in requests of
That's right,
these funds will
requests of
be
these funds.
submitted to admin before use for approval,
for pre-approval or
for
something.
pre-approval. Because if there's only if there's a
4,000, like we.
there's a pool of 4,000, we need to make sure that at the end of the year, Michelle's not using all of it and we're like, hey, wait, we've already spent it all. So you know what I mean?
Okay, can you,
Okay, requests of these funds
thank you.
will be submitted to admin before use for approval.
For
And that
of
form
the current school year
just before you use it.
or, okay. That's it.
Yep.
You could request now for next year, or you could request now for next week, like.
Right.
As long as she approves it, you're good.
Okay.
And then that waiver was when we let you guys pool the money. If you wanted to pool your money, you had to sign a waiver saying you were letting you guys pool it, but that's
Because
irrelevant
you had
anymore.
money, and Katie had money and Brenda had money, and if you
Right.
decided to put it together, then there had to be a special waiver.
Right.
Okay.
We're
But
now
that's
saying it is
irrelevant now.
pooled, It's full.
That each teacher will be granted 2 days, is that still the same? Is that what they had
Mhm.
before? Yeah.
And then additional may be granted by the principal, like if they had a special thing they wanted to go to, and it was like 3-day thing,
Right.
Right.
you know. She'd be like, yes, go ahead and go to the 3-day thing.
All right. Almost there. Compensation time, 9.6, teachers required to perform additional duties may request from the principal sub-time without using discretionary leave. So we're just changing
So that would
sick
kind of,
to discretionary. That's it.
oh, that's it.
We're just changing the word.
That'd be kind of like additional professional days then, right? That would be same thing. I don't,
What do you mean?
I guess I'm just not understanding why we need that in addition to the professional.
So I think this has to do with
This says comp time, but do we really do comp time?
well, I
I
think this
think-
has a lot to do with when Julia's gone and Becky's gone and the admin duties fall on Wendy. is she getting compensated for that? I'm just throwing that as an
No, okay.
example, like. It would be like those types of situations of like somebody who has to take
Okay.
on an extra duty that is not really. Their responsibility should be. comped
Gotcha.
for what
They
they're
shouldn't
doing.
have to use their own discretionary.
Because it's happened a few times this year where Wendy has had to do that, and
Okay,
I don't know if she's ever gotten comp time for that, I don't know.
So she wanted.
And I'm just throwing
But
that out there
right,
as
but
an
like,
example,
what does that
like-
look like? Is she,
is she charged with discretionary time then during those situations or no?
No,
So it's probably she's still doing her job and an additional duty?
Well, yeah.
thing?
So
she's
she's
still-
saying
she's
if she
still
has to
doing her
step into
job,
that
but now
role-
She also has to do the job of the admin, when Becky and Leah are both gone.
So she wants to trade out. And
No,
Yeah,
no,
that's what
this
I'm like.
is just being compensated time, like,
but
Or
to
money
me,
or-
compensation means money, so that's what I'm trying to figure out.
yeah.
and I don't think that's what this means, because this is saying that, like, if she's required. Let's say Julia and Becky are gone, so she's gonna be required to do the principal thing, right? So she wants to be able to hire a sub to take over her class, so she can be principal and not have to use her discretionary days.
if
Oh.
she had,
That's
like,
how I
AP
read
class
that.
Or something to go to, and she couldn't be also teaching at the same.
Right.
time.
So that, so.
That's how
when
I read it.
Yeah, but then when I hear you say like, it's happened this year, I'm like, what does that mean? That it happened, like she had to use her discretionary time?
No, she never used
No, she was
discretion.
just asked to take on duties outside of her regular teaching
Oh,
duties.
So if there was a
This
discipline problem or whatever, we'd have to have Wendy come in and intervene in the disciplinary thing.
So
'Cause the
somebody
other
else
two-
might have to go
So
cover.
somebody has to go cover her class.
Yeah,
That
that
could
makes
happen,
sense.
but you can't, obviously can't call a sub in for a 10-minute conversation, but yeah.
So it's just kind of basically formalizing that that's okay to do without like her saying, I need a sub. You know, Shannon, take an hour off of my sub or whatever, my discretionary time.
okay.
Yeah.
Or like when they met to look at the
That's
math
at least how I
curriculum,
read it, that could be.
when they met to look over the math curriculum, we hired subs to come in while they were aside doing all of that and that did not use any of their
Sure.
discretionary time. We just hired a sub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's considered like additional professional.
Right, so we
That's
already
why I
do
think
it,
It's already professional days
Cause
essentially.
we also do that during kindergarten roundup
right?
occasionally.
Yeah.
So this is stuff we already do. They just changed the
The word,
word
okay.
to descript from
It
from
just like
person
threw me
or
off when she
whatever
was
to
like, "It's
discretionary.
happened already this year." I'm like, wait, somebody had to use their sick time,
No.
discretionary
But
time?
we don't do true
Okay,
comp-
so that's what I
It's
didn't
just-
understand.
It falls under
Yeah.
compensation time, but comp time is typically like you bank up, like you work here instead of here, or you work this amount of time, so then you get to leave early on another day,
Right.
or because you did extra, or, you know,
Okay.
that's what comp time usually works out to be, but this is different.
So, okay, so then, may, teachers required to perform additional duties may request sub time without using. So does that mean like, if she had to do her teaching job all day, but was also admin for 4 hours, that she's gonna request tomorrow to have 4 hours off? Do you know what I mean?
Maybe during the course of the duties could be added or something, or during to perform the duties, or. I don't know, do you know what I'm saying? Are we overcomplicating this?
I think you're overcomplicating
Okay.
it,
Okay.
right?
But I see what you're saying, because that
Yeah.
could.
Like when
open
you
up
just said
the-
that, I'm like, wait, so what
That's
does
what
that
comp time
mean?
usually is.
So my husband has that. You can work overtime for 2 weeks. You can either get paid overtime or you can put that in a separate bank
Yeah.
and it
Take time.
gives you extra like time off. So that's why I'm like, wait,
So
so what
isn't
is?
When we used to do comp time, it had, by law, it has to be paid out. You have to use it before your pay period.
I was
So
gonna say,
you
I
have to
thought
do it
I
all in the
could do
same
that.
month. You
Yeah.
can't bank it. You have to use it. So it was kind of pointless because people that would worked over because there wasn't any
Indeed,
time,
yeah.
right? So instead we just paid overtime. It's just cleaner.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm with you, though. I'm not sure that's super clear, but that's.
Yeah, so that just makes me feel like it leaves it open to interpretation to be able to say, hey,
Let's do it, or
do you know what I mean?
I think it would just be a simple, like, teacher required to perform additional duties may request
cause it's basically
coverage to
just
perform
asking
those
about
duties without
requesting.
using leave time.
Yeah, may
May
request
request
coverage.
Or may request a sub to allow them to perform those duties without using discretionary time. It would just, you know, just add that in so that we're not like saying, you're gonna bank time because you had to do this extra.
Right, that's just,
Yeah.
To perform the duties of to, you know.
Teachers required to perform additional duties
I don't
may
have it in.
request from.
Coverage
Coverage.
May request coverage.
from the principal without
Without
using
using-
discretionary leave.
from the
There you go,
principal
coverage.
To perform those additional
Yeah, to
duties
perform those duties
without
without
using,
So you wanna put ag coverage.
To
To
perform,
Coverage to perform. the
Teachers
duties.
required.
additional duties may request coverage from the
May
principal
request coverage.
To
to
perform.
perform the
To perform
duties,
those duties.
to perform the duties without using discretionary leave,
Yeah,
basically.
I like that better.
But you know what I mean?
I do.
Like, yeah.
Let's see.
Cause that's what I'm like, why is it in your comp time when it's not really comp time? But I
Right,
kinda
that's
get
why,
that
like,
it
I'm,
kinda goes-
Sorry,
It's a
yeah.
tangent. No, it is, like, it's related. but
cause it's a, yeah.
Sorry.
Woohoo, 11.1. So I'm gonna get rid of my star.
You're getting there.
The only thing that's left is 11.1 to change the dates, because the dates are wrong.
like 2021 or something like that.
Yeah. We're like, what the heck?
We only caught it because we were looking at it, and we were like.
That's good. To catch it.
The date. That might need to be something that I also put a note on for negotiation every year, is just a reminder to change the date,
Yeah.
so I will
Update.
try to do that.
So yes, I'm okay with changing the dates to be current.
We've still got a few things to iron out, but I'm feeling pretty good that this is only meeting number
Yeah.
4 and we're getting, I would say, darn close.
Good,
Yes.
good.
Okay,
Okay,
so
good.
we are tabling 2.9, 8.2A, 8.3B, 5.2, 7.1, and 9.6. We have a changed, we talked about all the language and changes that agreed to 8.2B, 8.2C, 8.2D, 8.3C, 7.3, and 1.1.
Yes,
And the board will come up with the verbiage for 5.9.
wait, there is no 1.1, you mean 11?
11.1. It's a lot of ones.
Sorry, I was just making sure.
No, you're good.
I
You're like,
don't
wait,
follow
what?
that, But I'm sure.
We're making sure you're still paying
That
attention.
sounds great.
Woohoo!
Okay, and I will make sure, I wrote lots of notes, so hopefully.
And you have access to the negotiation committee meeting minutes because I shared it with everybody.
Well, it's the second time
How many
My brain
How
does
many
not
Mondays do you
function
have
on
left? Just kidding.
and it's been a Monday.
It's a very Monday,
Very
Monday.
Monday.
It is, yeah, which hopefully means that tomorrow's gonna be a good day, cause
Yes.
usually it's either or, if they have a really rocking Monday,
Mhm.
Tuesday always is terrible. If it's a great, or if it's a terrible Monday, Tuesdays
They
are
go home
usually
and
always
sleep it
good.
off. and-
Tomorrow's gonna be terrific Tuesday.
Yeah.
All right, I'm ending the recording.
Okay.